Hey, what's going on, Instagram people? I'm in my TikTok folk. What's up? All right, there we go, guys. There we go. There we go. Hallelujah. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. We are ready and prepared for what's happening right now. We are live. Truth and perspective. We are live. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? This is your boy, Uncle Dallas. Truth and perspective. We are here working on some things, making some things happen. Today, if you followed the video, there are 5 things that we're going to talk about that will help you to move into the place you were called to move into. I'm going to set this up. I normally don't, but I'm going to do it today because I know that I have some people that actually can't get on YouTube because they're in jobs and stuff like that. So we're going to give them some space to do this. This will be recorded. If you are interested in looking at it a little bit later on, then you can go to the page and look at it. Go to our YouTube page and we can look at it and go from there. So while we're here, there are a couple things that you guys need to understand. And let me just do this while I'm sitting here because I have this here in my presence. I have things all over the place. And we're going to talk about those 5 principles. And the reason we're going to talk about the 5 principles is because a lot of us are moving in areas where you really need the presence of God. And within that need, you need to understand how to get to it. Get my water out the way. How to get to that presence. And a lot of us, we think we know how to get to it, but we actually don't know how to get to it. So I'm going to teach you some of the things that will help you to move into those areas that are necessary to move forward. There are 5 principles that will place you in God's presence. And it's not so much as presence, it's kind of like being next in line. There's how to be next in line. And I'm going to teach you those 5 things. So follow me today. It's going to be under the stop letting go tab. So follow me today. Now, again, for those of you that don't know, my name is William Dallas. And today, I want you to see a movement in your life that you've never seen before. Because as I got up in my meditation time, and I told everybody, you write down. Look at your notes. I wrote down. You can see that. Can you see that? Yeah. I wrote down. While I'm in my time of meditation, I wrote down the notes. And the notes were, how many of us are looking for a move in their lives? And not so much, and maybe some of you, are looking for a miraculous place, maybe for a miracle. Maybe some of you are looking for a miracle. Maybe some of you are looking for finances, a job, or all those things. But see, there are 5 principles you need to understand. Because when you begin to move forward, you have to realize something. When you begin to move forward, what's going to take place in your life, my God, I'm shiny. What's going to take place in your life? Look how shiny I am, y'all. I'm shiny. I can't be shiny. What's this? I'm shiny. That's better. There are 5 things that you need to understand when it takes place. It's not the movement of God, my Bible too. It's not the movement of God. What it is what you're going to encounter when the movement happens. When something is moving towards you, you're going to encounter something. And the purpose of the movement is so that you'll encounter these things. For example, there are those of you that know me, let me move you guys around over here. Those of you that know me that have actually been a part of any of my teaching, you know that my wife and I are scuba divers. And so when dealing with my wife, when we go scuba diving, we want to take other people scuba diving with us. And so what has to happen is they have to be used to swimming. But if you know our culture, we don't really do the water thing that way. We don't do the swim thing. And so if the blessing is within swimming, as you begin to move toward that, you deal with that first issue of swimming, of having to be in the water, and you deal with those things. And when you deal with them, they determine whether you're going to actually be able to move into the area that God wants you to move into or not. Sorry about that. Or not. Because I got 3 or 4 different computers. I probably need to put another camera here so I can see the whole setup. But that's what you're going to have to deal with. So what I'm going to do is give you 5 things that you're going to have to deal with, because here's the thing you need to understand. God's presence is not in you. It is not there. You are not in a place where the presence of God is. The Bible even says if you make your bed in hell, he's there. So you are not out of God's presence. You're not out of God's presence. You're not out of God's sight. The key to that is what society wants you to understand and what church wants you to understand. They want you to believe that you're in the Spirit and out of the Spirit. They want you to believe you're in his presence and not in his presence. That's a New Testament, Old Testament transition that we see coming from 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people will call by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven. So that means if you do this stuff, you'll hear from heaven. In this dispensation, God is always speaking. You can't be in a place so bad that God can't speak. Why? He sent his son as a conduit between where you are and where God wants you to be. So you got to get that out of your mind, first of all. First and foremost, you are not so bad that God can't speak to you. God is not mad at you. He's not upset with you. Now, I cannot like what you do. I cannot like what you do and still love you. You follow me? You can be a homosexual and I can still love you. I just don't like what you do. And we have to understand it, because what we find ourselves in is in the midst of something that says, because I don't like what you do, I don't like you. That's not the case. That's why we have such a problem with the LGBTQ community. It's because it's not we don't love the people, it's we don't like what you do. And that's it. So when you understand that, you understand, I still love Tamika. I still love Mike. I still love Kevin. I still love Keith. I still love these people. I just don't like what you do, or I don't condone what you do. Because we have to get to another point of understanding that we don't determine what is right and wrong in somebody else's place. So what I'm going to talk about today, and those of you that are watching us on YouTube, you'll see the actual slides. Those of you that are not watching us on YouTube, you'll have to just kind of hear what I say. But we're on YouTube, and let me do this right now. We're on youtube.com/higher talk. So those of you that are not on YouTube, you're going to just kind of follow me. But I'm going to give YouTube to those of you that want to come on and get on with us, because this is where you see the bulk of what we're doing. Okay? So now, what you have to understand in this process is, yes, that's it. What you have to understand in this process is God is not hindering you. You're hindering yourself. Okay. There's a scripture in Corinthians that said, there's no temptation that is taken you, but such is common unto man. There's another scripture that says it rains on the just as well as the unjust. The presence of God, the presence of the Spirit of God, and some of you call him the universe, some of you go, whatever you call him, it's always there. It is within the fiber of everything that you see, and it's within the DNA of everything that you are part of. He's always there. Your biggest challenge, and I know this happens with me as well, our biggest challenge is the fact that we don't allow it to speak into our lives, because our carnality tends to be what hinders us from moving into the things of God. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 5 things that you can deal with when it comes to that. So if you want to see them, like I said, you got to be on YouTube, but I'm going to talk about them regardless. So these are the 5 things, because there's some other things culturally that I'll deal with. But right now we're going to deal with, what do you need? And in all the different things in my YouTube page and all these different things, I need you to write down what you really need. What do you need from God? Because what I'm going to show you today is how to begin to maneuver the presence of God in where you are in a way that you can actually tangibly feel it or see evidence of it. Because a lot of times the evidence is there, but how do I say this? A lot of times the evidence is there, but you have to be in position where you allow the evidence to be in there or be aware of it. So first of all, let's start from here. Now, if you look at that, this slide simply says 5 principles to place you in God's blessing. Now, what you have to realize is within those 5 blessings, the first thing you have to understand is what you think. What do you think? That should be what do you think. It says what you think. It says, what do you think? What is happening? Oh. The first thing is, what do you think? Oh my God, something's in my eye. Now, and what do you think? Let me go back to that. And what do you think? What do you think? It's probably what you think. What you think. The first thing is what you think. So it should say what you think. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he. Eat and drink thee, but his heart is not with thee. Now, what does that mean? He says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Now, he does think that means he's eating and drinking and doing things, and his heart is not in it. A lot of times we're in situations that we go to church, we do all this stuff, and our heart is not in church. But as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. There is a consistency that connects spirit with mind. Now, what do I mean by that? I've heard people say, well, if you say things over and over and over and over again, because this is why I have a real challenge with confession, guys. I mean, affirmations. I have a real challenge with affirmation. We're not really teaching affirmations correctly. And the reason we're not teaching affirmations correctly, because an affirmation means I affirm. If you're going to affirm something, it means something that's already there. You're just affirming or confirming that thing is there. For example, I can say an affirmation, I'm going to have more water. I have water, but now I'm going to have more water. So in the affirmation, you're trying to confirm something that is not there to make it there. I'm worth $1 million. I have $1 million. So the reason I don't do affirmation, because in my mind, there's a difference in affirmation, meaning I'm affirming something that's not there, and the truth. So what I will say is, I'm moving toward that next $1 million. I'm moving toward that thing. Today will be a day that I turn the corner. Today I'm a day closer to the $1 million. Those kind of things. Those are truths. Those aren't affirmations. Those are truths. And it's kind of a catch-22. It's kind of, a play on words. But that's the key. But as you think, so as you begin to move in step one, I hope I get to all these things. I only have an hour. As you begin to move in step one, yeah. Oh, I guess we can't turn that thing down. As you begin to move in step one, here's what you got to realize. You have to realize that in step one, you are actually putting yourself in a position where you are saying, okay, let me make sure I turn this off because this is starting to talk. I don't know why it's talking. You're actually saying, okay, in step one, I want to be a millionaire. Let's do that. Or I want a husband, or I want a wife. Let's do that. So in step one, when you say, I want a husband, I want a wife, the first thing that's going to happen to you, listen to me, the first thing that's going to happen to you is all the things that you are concerned about pertaining to the subject. Right? So, and this happens unconsciously. You have to learn to control this. You got to learn to stay lined up. You got to learn to stay one in that thing. I was watching, we went to see Chang Chi tomorrow, and she was talking about chi. She said, your chi is off. You got to learn that when you make the statement, you have to make the statement and be ready to deal with the pushback. So I want to be married by the end of the year. Matter of fact, what's really interesting is I said something to a friend of mine before I met my wife. I said, by the end of this year, by the end of 2013, I'm going to be married. It was 2012 at the time. At the end of September of 2013, I was getting married. Why? Because the key becomes when you speak, what you think is going to contend with all of your past. It's going to contend with how you feel. It's going to contend with all those different things. Why? Because if you're going to move to a new place, the old place has to die. Let me say that again. If you're going to move to a new place, the old place has to die. And a lot of times when people are presenting you with those things, you have to understand when you say, I want to go in a direction, it's going to come with press. It's going to come with friction. Why? Because that's the body size or the mindset that it's going to come with friction. It's going to come with a pushback. Why? The pushback builds strength in your movement so that when you finally get there, you're strong enough to handle that. So now you have to deal with the things that are on your mind. What's on your mind? What do you think about consistently? What do you think about daily? What do you say about your situation? What do you say about your circumstance? What do you say? Those things are taking places, are placing themselves in. So when they're placing themselves in situations in your life and they're moving you and operating in your life. So what are you thinking about? What do you think about being married? Do you think I should have a husband? I should be, I should have a husband. I should have a wife. What do you think about that? What's the thing that defines your identity when it comes to what you're asking for? What defines your identity? I want to be wealthy. If I want to be wealthy, do I start thinking about how many big cars I'm going to buy, big houses? Or do I think wealthy, which means I need to start thinking more about investments, looking at my life? What am I investing in? I want to be married. So do you think about all the things that you need to do to be married? Or are you just looking around for somebody to fit this need? Do you think about the 3 things I teach you guys about marriage? You don't need to learn how to cook, clean, and take care of a house. That's not what a marriage does, not a spiritual marriage or a marriage that's going to grow. There are 3 principles that you have to learn. So what do you think? What is the thing that defines that position and why you're not married? Because of that thought process. You follow me? Okay, that's one. I'm trying to get into all of them. Probably won't get into as many of them as I want to. I'm trying to get into all of them. So the next one is what you allow in your mind. Now, what you got to realize something. And there's a passage, let me go back to that. There's a passage in there that I really liked. Now, the passage says, then when desire has conceived, it brings forth birth to sin. And sin, when it is fully grown, brings forth death. Now, I have said this scripture. It is James, the 1st chapter and the 15th verse. When you allow something in your mind to take root, it takes the path of the type of thought that you hold. When you allow something in your mind to take root, it takes the path of what it takes a specific path. Let's just say that. I don't want to make it so deep. For example, it says when sin is conceived, it brings forth death. Now, the only thing you have to understand when it comes to sin is the carnality. So what are you allowing to take root in your mind? What are you allowing to take root in your mind? Do you tell yourself, oh my God, I'm so sick, I'm just going to be sick forever? You're allowing the fact that sickness came through your mind and a suggestion came through your mind. Understand something. Your mind takes suggestions and determines whether they're good or bad. That's why you don't remember certain things. There are people that can say things. See, your brain remembers everything. This is a computer. Everything that goes into your mind, it goes into either your short-term memory, your long-term memory, or to your archives. Your short-term memory is the fact that I had to remember I had to be here at 10 o'clock. Once it's done, 10 o'clock, I don't have to remember to be back at 10 o'clock. My long-term memory is all the things that I studied to teach you guys. My archive is the things that I taught you that you should remember later. So you have to realize that everything that you see, everything around you, your mind calculates it. If there was a way to tap into photosynthesis? No. Memory, photogenic memory. You have photogenic memory. If there was a way to tap into photogenic memory, you have more capacity in your mind than any computer in this entire world. But what happens is you don't have the same capacity when it comes to emotions. And I'll talk about that some other time. So when these thoughts come by your mind, you have to determine, believe, conceive, not conceive. Conceive, not conceive. Now, example. Young lady is a size, for women don't understand this, men won't. Young lady is a size 18. Now, let's say she's a 6 foot size 18. She doesn't look like she's a size 18 because it's stretched out over her over her height. So in her mind, she either says she's just voluptuous, she's big, or she can say she's fat. Now, all 3 of those things are going to come through her mind. Her determination, what she has to determine is, I'm not going to hold on to the thing that brings death. I'm going to hold on to the thing that brings life. Now, what that does, it moves the presence of God closer to you because God doesn't have to fight the detriment of what you feel by yourself. You follow me? He doesn't have to battle the detriment of what you feel by yourself. What he can simply do is keep you moving. Listen, some of you has conceived relationships that have been detrimental. Why? Because what you have allowed to take root in your mind is not what's best for your life. For example, you will see something on television. This is why television, the media is very important. You'll see a little light-skinned boy or old boy or dark, whatever. You'll see him on TV, and now you conceive that thing. You allow that thing to take root in your mind. Now that thing turns into a thought. If it can't be reached, if it's beyond your capability, it goes into a fantasy. And if that fantasy is not checked, that fantasy will become a real life draw and attraction. And now you're looking for a fantasy. You follow me? Some of you have been in relationships and you've conceived stuff that did not benefit your life. You've allowed men into your life. You've allowed women into your life because you let that thing take root. So something happens and it shows you it's wrong. You know it's wrong. It just doesn't sit right in your spirit, but you have now diluted it, closed it up, quieted it down so that you can in turn now deal with the situation. Now, what do I mean by that? He was unfaithful to the woman before you. He was unfaithful to the woman before that, and unfaithful to the woman before that. You've allowed yourself to believe that he's going to be faithful to you. He's not. She slept with your buddy. She slept with his buddy. He slept with his buddy, and it gets to you. Do you think she's going to be faithful to you? No. She's showing every part of her entire body. Is she going to not show herself? Is she not going to be the same person to you? You cannot let your mind conceive stuff that is going to be detrimental. So what have you allowed your mind to be? Learn to experience stuff. Back to the thing with scuba diving. So I'm telling people, why don't you come scuba diving? I think it's the most amazing thing in the world. That's me personally. I've had the most wonderful time with scuba diving. But most people are afraid by something that's been told to them, not something they've experienced. Most people are determined. They've allowed other people to define what they think. They've never experienced it for themselves. Most of you live right now under the realm of fear today. Right now, you live under fear. You live under fear of what could possibly happen. And what you have to understand is you are in a place where what could possibly happen probably will never happen. So what you do is you determine your movement by what could possibly happen. You allow that thing to conceive. You allow that thing to take root. You allow that thing to birth into your life. And when it births into your life, what it does, it puts you in a position where you become stagnant. Yeah, you become stagnant. You don't know what to do. You don't know which way to turn. You don't know any of those things, but you become stagnant. That's where Hebrews, the 12th chapter. So let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one, guys. Let's go to the next one, okay? Let's go to the next one. What makes you move? I'll read this. It said, therefore we also are surrounded about by so great a cloud of witnesses. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so does easily ensnare us, and let us run with patience or endurance the race that is set before us. Now, what makes you move? So now you have these thought processes and you want God to move in your life and you want these things to happen in your life. So what moves you? See, when we look at Hebrews, we look at faith being the evidence of things hoped for and the substance of things not seen. And so we have to realize that faith is not just the fact that you believe something. Faith is the ability to know it well enough that it causes you to move. What causes you to move? I heard a pastor say that if you caught on fire, you would move a lot more. What causes you to move? What is called? Because see, if you want the presence of God in your life, you want to see things happen in your life, you have to realize that God is constantly giving you information, constantly giving you ideas, constantly giving you opportunities to grow to the next level. But you are having this battle between carnal and spiritual. It's constantly a battle. He's constantly giving you information. He's constantly showing you how to move forward. But he's not trying to tell you to stand still. So lay aside every weight. Stop taking care of people that don't want to be taken care of. Stop trying to help people that don't want help. Start dealing with you. Some of you have been in relationships, and the reason you're in the relationship is because you thought you could help him or you thought you could help her. Stop it. Let me say this to you. Let me put this as my friend of mine used to. Let me put this bug in your ear. Wouldn't it? Can you imagine what it would be like in your life if you would connect to people that really wanted to go somewhere? I know brothers after brothers and sisters after sisters that are married, and once they get married, they see these people to go, wow, I wanted to move forward and this person wanted to move forward. What would it have been like if you waited long enough to meet the person that wants to move forward just like you want to move forward? If relationships fall just like this, it's one person is the yin and one person is the yang, and we've been taught that's the way it is. One's the negative. No, I agree with it and I understand it. But when you got two people that see the vision, that's why I say, ladies, don't get attached to a person. Get attached to a person, a purpose with a person. You follow me? Can you imagine what it had been like if that first relationship saw who you were and they wanted to move forward and you wanted to move forward, how amazing your life would have been? Can you imagine if somebody had taught you what I can teach you about church, and when you went to church, you didn't get caught up in the dogmas or the traditions. You just went there to hear from God, and these presents and these things that you hear from God, you begin to really enjoy them because they're not under structure or rules or regulations. Can you imagine had somebody got to you, and when they married you, you loved them, they loved you. And when you had children, it was about making the children's life better. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to realize we get connected because we are emotionally attached to something. And because we're emotionally attached to it, we hold on to it. Then we try to figure it out after we get into it. It's not the way it's supposed to be. So now you have children in places that don't know anything about it because you never prepared for children. You married men because he was sexy, or you were drinking, and you drink, I drink, we like drinking, and a desperation set in and you didn't really want to be with this person, but instead of being by yourself, you got with the person. Now 5 years down the road, he ups and leaves because you thought his faithfulness to that position in the house determined his faithfulness to you, when in actuality, it didn't. Why? Because those things that caused you to move were not the reasons that you should move. I don't care how fine he is. I don't care what type of package he carries. I don't care how fine she is. I don't care how she walks through the house. If that connection does not happen spiritually, what you're going to find yourself doing is one day, they're going to wake up and realize that the reason that they're there was never the reason they should be there. So when you say what makes you move, what should make you move is the peace to be in the presence of a person that looks at you as if you're their destiny, that looks at you as if you're their life, and not have to say that you're their life, but their life. Because we are teaching, and I know why I'm going this way, we are teaching relationships in a contingency. We're not teaching relationships as life. I need Kendra. I need my daughters. I need those people. And we're afraid to say we need them because we were so broken in other relationships that we're afraid to say, I need somebody in this position. Yes, I need her. Yes, she needs me. I don't need no man. That's on you. That ain't on every. See, when we are understanding that what I move toward, and I'm not going to be able to go all the way I want to go. When I move toward something that's beneficial to me, I need that thing to be in position. When I start telling myself, no, I don't need them. I put myself in a position where I'm saying I don't need anything that is consistently necessary for me to move forward, and I never move. Or I move on to my own strength. You've got to get to a point, ladies and gentlemen, where you understand that what you need is what moves you. Not what you're trying to play this pious thing. Every time I come to my wife, if I get into her presence, she begins to smile. I said, why you smile? I don't. She doesn't want to tell me why she smiles. She needs to tell me. Why? What are you losing by telling me why you smile? Apologize. I told a lady, I said, just go and apologize. Why do you, why? What is hurting you by saying apologize? Your movement is skewed because you're moving trying to maintain a position. You don't even like being where you are. Oh, I love my job. You don't like your job. Your job sustains you enough to satisfy your needs. If I came to you and said, I'm going to pay you the same amount of money without you having to do any of the labor, you wouldn't say, forget that, I'm going to just stay at my job. No, you don't like your job. You are satisfied with your job. It pacifies you. Some of the things that you have allowed to move you should never have moved you. You don't move toward a relationship because he loves you. You don't move toward a relationship because she loves you. You move according to a relationship because you see destiny in his eyes. You see destiny in her arms. You feel that presence. I'm not with Kendra because I gotta be with Kendra. I love my wife. I know with her, she and I together can do great things. So I move according to that understanding. How many of you are not moving because you don't know why you're there? You have no idea why you're with this man. You have no idea why you're with this woman. There's no plan. Therefore, seeing we're surrounded about by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that do. Why? Because when you lay stuff aside and nothing means anything, from that point on, what you're able to do is make your movement sure and make your movement solid. You're able to do that. What time is it? I got to make sure that I don't keep you guys here too long. Okay, good. It's 10:33. You follow me? So let's go to the next one. What makes you move? So if you want the presence of God, then you have to let the Spirit of God make you move. Because if the Spirit of God makes you move, it'll always be a good move. But you got to lay aside the weight. You got to lay aside the sins and everything that so easily besets you. So let's look at the next one. The next one says, what stops your movement? And that one says, you did run well. Who did hinder you that you should not obey the truth? Galatians 5:7. Now, here's what I need you to understand. Galatians 5:7. Most of you that are here, that are watching me, your movement is you're here because the Spirit led you here. You don't believe that because you want this spooky, speak to me, oh William, the Ten Commandments, Moses, and the bush talk. You don't want the fact that there's something inside of you that connects you to the Spirit that wakes you up when you think. You think your alarm clock woke you up. No, your alarm clock simply aroused you. The Spirit of God woke you up. God woke you up. Your alarm clock didn't do it, so stop thinking your alarm clock did it. It wasn't your husband. It wasn't your wife. It was God. It was the Spirit. It was the universal, whatever you want to call it. That's what woke you up. But we tend to want to put something, we want to hold on to something and make that thing our life. My clock woke me up. Oh, I need an alarm clock. I need to watch TV. You don't need to do anything. Do you know how much movement there is and how much power there is in the Spirit? Do you really know that? So it says, what stops you from movement? Fear, disappointment, your past, people that don't believe in you. I'll never forget when I did my first book. After I sold the book, I bought the book. See, back then we didn't have ebooks and all this kind of stuff. So I bought the book. I bought 100 books. Sold all those. Bought another 100 books. I sold the books. Let's say I sold 500 books. So say 1,000 books. One person out of 1,000 books did not like the book. I was devastated. I was devastated. I was devastated because the negative of one person made me feel like I was a failure, when in actuality, they just didn't understand the book. Your movement is being hindered by people around you that don't know who you are. Talking to my friend of mine the other day, I said, you don't understand how valuable you are because nobody's ever told you the value. I did a thing about talking to my daughters, spiritual daughters. Women have never been taught their value. I haven't met one. Every woman that has a dad in her life, she's been taught. But if you did not have a dad in your life, very seldomly, and not always, because I can't speak generally about this. Very seldom are you taught who you are and how valuable you are. If there was no dad, you don't know how valuable you are. So what happens is the general populace of women, especially African American women and Hispanic women, that level, the general populace of women is taught like they are less than a certain woman in comparison. They're less than the higher up, so you're just less than. You're never taught your value. So then your value is defined by what you wear, how you smell, how you feel. That's why every day the makeup industry is a $30 billion industry. The health industry is another $30 billion industry. These are huge industries, and these numbers aren't right. I'm just overestimating. These are huge industries for your external. But church is probably a $3 billion industry. Because your spiritual well-being has absolutely nothing to do with who you are according to the system and the communities that we live in. Things like what I do now, this means nothing to you. Why? Because it's not making you look pretty or feel pretty, or doesn't make you do. Why? Because you've never been defined. So what I'm teaching you is not helping you unless you know how valuable you are. You know what your price is, but you don't know what your value is. So nobody has taught you your value. So I do these lives and these broadcasts to teach you your value. But what's going to happen is when you get out of my presence and I've taught you, and you start going and looking at Tamika or Shay Shay or that, and they get all this attention because they have a big butt in their belly, they're showing all their clothes. Or same situation with you. The guy, the same thing. I tell you that you are actually biblically written by in the spirit. You are structurally explained what your value is. And then I come and explain your value, and you leave my presence, and all of a sudden the basketball player, all the women love the basketball player, all the women love the rock star, all the women love the thug. And so you shift from what your value is and then define yourself as a comparison to those people that don't have the same value as you, or that are less valuable than you, because they define their value by their external. So now you don't move. Now you don't go anywhere because you think that you wear nice clothes and nice shoes and got your hair cut correct and all those kind of things, and that makes you valuable. No, my friend, that puts a price on you. That's not your value. That puts a price on you. And so what happens is, as you begin to move, your life doesn't go anywhere. Why? Because you've never lived according to your value. So now you've got to adapt the value of other people that you watch. I'm giving you value. Within that value comes the presence of God. Within that presence comes pricing, what you need monetarily. But if I say something to you right now, if I say, okay, I need everybody right now to go raise $1,000 and meet me over here. We're going to go on a retreat, and I'm going to teach you how to live your value. Half of you who have it now, I'm not talking about people that don't have it, who have it are going to look at me like, why? Because you're externally defined. I'm the same way. You're externally defined. And so when you're externally defined, what you have to realize is, when you're externally defined, you have to realize that everything in your life is defined by what's around you. You pay attention to fast cars. You pay attention to clothes. You pay attention anything that's external. You're going to pay attention to, and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you don't have the foundation of the spirit, then you are not moving in your highest self. Oh, I'm living my best life. You're not living your best life. You're living your best comparative life, so you can compare your life to somebody and say, oh, they live like this and I live like this. Living your best life is knowing who you are. Let me give you a little diagram. Let me get this diagram up here. So check this out. Y'all see this diagram right here? I'm sorry, this diagram right here. This diagram talks about the spirit, mind, and soul. Not spirit, mind, and body. When you live at a spiritual level, when you live at a spiritual level that speaks into your mental, that gives command to your physical. Your spirit should speak to your mind, and your mind should give command to your spirit. When you are in that system, you are living your best life. Why? Because the spirit gives unlimited knowledge to wherever you want to go. That means if you are telling me you want to be in Hawaii, the spirit knows where all the inexpensive places are. It knows where all the money is. It knows where all the people are that say, hey, I'll fly you over there for real. The spirit has unlimited universal knowledge. But if you kill the spiritual speaking and you suppress your mind, you now have to come up with every idea and up every thought, and you got to come up with everything yourself. And now you go from a person that can get everything to a person that's limited by their environment. So when I say to you, you can live a better life, you have to realize what stops your movement is what you have to contend with. Fear stops your movement. The opposite of fear is information. It's not faith, it's information. Because faith is not a competitor to fear. Fear is a lack of information, and then a lack of trusting in the information. That's why they said in Hebrews, you must first believe that he is, and a reward of them that diligently seek him. So that's what fear is. So, oh my God, I said I wasn't going to make it. Guys, it is 10:42. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so the next one, and I said what stops your movement? Where we at? What stops your movement? The next one, which is the last one, thank God, is what are you willing to sacrifice for? Romans the 12th chapter and the first verse says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, that being your reasonable service. There is no sacrifice in this world but one. There's only one sacrifice, and that's flesh. Your external is the only thing you have to sacrifice. You can't sacrifice your spirit because your spirit is universal. It is impenetrable. It is directly connected to God. So you can't sacrifice that. So he said a living sacrifice. So sacrificing your life is not going to happen because it's a living sacrifice. And if you take your life, then you sacrifice your life. But he says a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, being your reasonable service. So you can't be your life because your life means you no longer are at service. That means you're dead. You're gone. You're not in. So what happens is you have to understand that your sacrifice is your carnality, your mindset, your mentality. When God begins to try to release things into your mind then determines whether that thing is relevant. When it determines whether it's relevant or not from the point on, you now begin to put together different things that need to take place in order to fulfill that relevance. So now you go, what do I do here? We need, my wife and I need a certain amount of money. It's a large amount of money. Now, our job is not to hope we get the money, is know that the money is going to come. And know how to get the money there. When I understand, I sacrifice all the things that tell me the money is not going to happen. I sacrifice all the things. If God tells me to go outside and sing a song over my balcony, I got to sacrifice that. I got to sacrifice my flesh, how I feel about money, how I feel about what takes place, how I got to sacrifice all of those things, because when I sacrifice those things, what I do is I give freedom for God to lead me to where that path is. He may tell you to go ask for something. He may tell you to talk to. You have to stop being afraid of what people feel and afraid of what stops you, because you're sacrificing your flesh. That's why Jesus died the way he did. He had to sacrifice his flesh. At that time, that was the most horrific way to die. So what are you willing to sacrifice? Don't sacrifice your children. Don't sacrifice your money. Sacrifice your feelings about things. Sacrifice your emotions about things. Sacrifice to how you want to respond to stuff. Sacrifice those things. And when you sacrifice those things, what you realize is you're sacrificing the movement. Sacrifice your flesh. Sacrifice your fears. Sacrifice your feeling uncomfortable. Start putting yourself in a position where if God says anything at all, you're down. Now, that is not going to be easy, but it's not difficult either. My wife was right. We were coming from a place the other day, and this man just stopped in the middle of the street. Just stopped in the middle of the street. And my wife was like, what in the... I said, whoa, why are we even worried? I don't know. I don't care about that. Who cares why that man is in the middle of the street? See, there's a difference in you being concerned about somebody and that thing being conceived by you, meaning that you now take it in as your problem. And a lot of you have taken things in that are your problem, but they're not your problem. So when they conceive that thing, from that point on, you have to realize that it's conceived. It's conceived. And because it's conceived, it brings forth whatever it's supposed to as the seed. So some junk, they cut you off. They're driving fast. You may look like, wow, he's driving really fast. But if you stay on your mark, you don't lose the integrity of your destination. You don't lose the integrity of your destination. Okay. I hope that helps. What are you willing to sacrifice? Now, Many of you have gotten into relationships for my people on TikTok and situations for my people on Instagram, have gotten into relationships and situations that have now created a challenge in your life. Whether you ran out of, your money was taken, your children were taken away, your health is different, your living situations are different. All these things may have happened in your life. So I'm saying this stuff, and I'm done with the slides. I'm done with that. I want to help you out. I want to help you guys out. Everything that you're in right now, at a point, it was allowed. Everything you're dealing with right now, at some point, it was allowed. You have the power to uproot the things that try to stop you. But you have to do it in a couple of ways. Way number one, start writing down your destination. Don't write down what you're hoping for. Don't write down what you think should happen. Write down your destination. So we're going to do this while I'm sitting here. Okay? Write down your destination. So you take your trusty pen like this, and you say things that will be done. Okay? We just write things that will be done. Okay? That will be done. All right? So you write down things that will be done. Because I say this all the time. So we write number one, $10,000 a month. $10,000 per month. Okay? Now let me see if y'all can see that. Can you see that? Let me see if I can make that so you can see it. Yep. It's probably not focused very well, but $10,000 per month. Outside of $10,000 per month, I write down Deuteronomy 8 and 18. So I write down Deuteronomy 8, chapter 8 and chapter 18. Now what does that say? It says, remember, it's God that giveth the power to get wealth. Okay? After I write that, I'm going to do this one in red. After I write that down, now follow me, I'm trying to help you guys out. After I write that down, the next thing I write down under there is a confession. Not an affirmation, a confession of truth. I'm going to write it. Every day I am closer to my $10,000 goal. Every day I am closer to my $10,000 goal. Every day I'm closer. That's it. Every day I'm closer. So first day, you say thank you. The first day you are appreciative of it. And I want you to treat it like you came to me and I told you that it was going to happen. So the first day you come to me and go, Uncle Dallas, thank you very much for the $10,000 a month. Wherever you are, I don't care if you only got a penny. Thank you very much for the $10,000 a month. Excuse me. When you see me, you simply say, I appreciate you. Good looking out. I thank you very much. That's it. You don't have to go every time you see me. Thank you for the $10,000. So when you see me, you say, hey, thank you. One day closer. One day closer. Till the mindset says one day closer. Now, if I say one day closer, I've got to set a destination. Why? Because your mind will keep stretching out. So next thing I write on the third line is by the end of 2020. I'm writing it now. By the end of 2021, By the end of 2021. That means by January, we will be on a consistent basis of $10,000 a month. So now I'm one day closer. Even if I got a mark on the map, on the calendar, I'm one day closer to my goal. 2021, $10,000 a month. You follow me? I got 10 minutes. That's what happens. Now, how do we go through the goals of what we just talked about? How do we deal with the goals we just talked about? So I wrote them down. So I got my goal. I wrote it down. I said things that will be done. Things that will be done. That's number one. That's the title across it. And then below that, I wrote $10,000 a month, Deuteronomy 8 and 18. So what I do? What am I thinking? The first thing is on this. What am I thinking? I'm thinking that I'm aware that it's going to happen. So I let my mind be open to whatever opportunities God presented. What's the second thing? What am I conceiving? I'm only conceiving those things that move me closer to my 10,000 or closer to my wife or closer to my husband or closer to my healing, or closer to my transition, or closer to my new house. I'm only conceived. I don't let anything else in there, because when I conceive it, remember, whatsoever man thinketh, so is he. So I operate in places. I go to places where I would go if $10,000 a month was there now. So I go to houses and cars and places, not to buy them and not to lust after them, to get that whole mindset of not going to McDonald's every time. I don't go to McDonald's. Why? Because that's not what I want to do. So I live that. So the first thing is, what am I thinking? So as a man thinketh, so is he. The second thing is, what have I conceived? What have I allowed to take birth in my mind and in my life? Poverty, I can't let it take birth. My friends that don't have great husbands, I can't let it take birth. My friends that don't have great wives, can't let that take birth. I can't conceive something like that. The second thing is, what makes me move? I'm aware of opportunities that come through what I'm already written down there. What makes me move is opportunities to be out of town. I go enjoy myself, because if I'm husband now, if I'm going to have a husband and my husband says to me, where do you want to go? Or where have you been before? I've been nowhere. All of a sudden now you depend on the fact of him. I've been to Florida. I've been to Jamaica. I've been to England. I've been to Rome. Now you raise this relationship to a different level. You're not just the regular sister that's on Instagram or TikTok or on Facebook wishing and hoping you were going places. You are a universal woman. You're a universal man. And now they view you differently. Number 4. What stops you? Nothing should be able to stop you. Something should be able to turn you in a different direction, but nothing should be able to stop you. And number 5, the same thing. What are you willing to sacrifice to get $10,000 a month? I sacrifice my flesh. I sacrifice my fear. I sacrifice the things that make me feel like I shouldn't do something. I sacrifice the people around me that don't believe me. I sacrifice the people around me that keep trying to pull me down. I sacrifice myself being afraid to step up and write stuff down or ask for help. I sacrifice all those things. Why? Because I am going to walk in $10,000 a month by the end of this year. And by the way, that's mine. That belongs to Mr. Dallas. So now he'll start giving you ideas. He'll start giving you situations. Send people around you. He said, I have a daughter now. He just sent a daughter to me to help me. Why? He'll send folks around you. Your wife will come up and say, hey, baby, what do you need me to do? And all of a sudden, those things will begin to line up. Why? Because the basis of everything you're dealing with, people, there's only one battle in this world. That's the spirit and the carnal. There are no other battles. There's no other battles. You're not battling your husband. The Bible says you don't fight against flesh and blood. You're not battling your wife. You're not battling your children. You're not battling your circumstances. You're battling how powerful you will allow yourself to be to reach the goal that God promised you. You want God in your life? You want his presence in your life? How powerful will you allow yourself to be to make that thing happen? That's what you're battling. That's the fight. That's where you are. That's the situation. So when you write those things down, then that's what you do. That's how you make this thing work. You write it down and you make this thing happen. You ask yourself these things. You go over the YouTube video. Send a love donation. If you're not a part of the YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share. Make sure you follow. Turn the little bell on so you know when we're doing it. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. Make sure you get the information. If you feel like this has been a blessing, you can simply donate. Go to our Instagram and donate money. You can cash up us, whatever you want to do. However you want to do that. Because see, different people are at different levels. And the people that are at one level, you got to make sure they have the freedom to move at that level. Some of you have opportunities to do things out. We're creating a community of people that believe and trust God, and we can move in that area. All right? That's all we need to say. All right? That's all we need to say. We're doing good. We're doing good. We got 4 minutes. We're going to go ahead and shut the YouTube down. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for being a part of us. Thank you for watching our YouTube page. Make sure, like I said, you subscribe, you like. Give this information to somebody that needs it. Somebody that really needs it. If you need it, take good notes. I hope you took good notes. The video, you can watch the video over and over and over again. I thank God for you. I thank God for your movement. I thank God for what you're going to do. So this is William Dallas. This is True for Perspective. I will see you guys Monday. I will see you guys on Wednesday for Truth for Perspective. And all my class members, tomorrow, Dude, we're getting started. This class is getting good. It's getting good. So for all my people that are in the mechanics of spiritual power, I will see you guys on tomorrow as well. Love you very much. Peace.